Hello, everyone. Today I have Luke with us. Luke is a newly certified CAPM, and we are going to talk a lot about the exam. As some of you may know, Project Management Institute recently transitioned to a new certification exam for CAPM. And when we talk about that new exam coming into play, it went into play July 24th, 2023. Luke was able to prepare and take the exam before the new one launched. And so we want to hear a little bit about his experience. And so, hello, Luke, welcome. Again, congratulations. This is a huge milestone. When you first joined us at Effective Flow Connections for the summer, did you know what CAPM even stood for or anything about Project Management Institute?
Honestly, no, I did not. I had no idea. I really hadn't known anything about project management. It was something I've always known is a very important part of any workplace and any project, but I did not know anything about PMI or CAPM, and I didn't realize like how available it was to go out and get your certification.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, for anyone that is just now hearing about CAPM, it stands for Certified Associate in Project Management. And it is a really great certification for people that are interested in project management and maybe they don't have enough years of experience to sit for the PMP or the Project Management Professional Certification exam. So great option. We'll make sure that we share a lot of information on this. But I want to know a lot more about Luke's experience. And so, Luke, what training did you go through to prepare for the CAPM exam? And, was it easy to understand? How did you find the experience?
So what I did to prepare was I did a course through PMI, and it was called the Project Management Basics. And it basically told me everything I needed to know for the exam. Each chapter was laid out the same. It'd start with a quiz, which very much emulated what the quiz or the final exam is like. And then it'd go through, and if you got all the questions right, then you still have to do the next part, but it shows that you might already know what's going to be in this chapter. And then you just basically learn it through a couple different modules, interactive. And then at the end, you have to pass another quiz. And that will basically allow you to complete the chapter. But it was very, very well laid out. And I actually thought it really helped when I went to take a practice exam and then the final exam.
Fantastic. And from my understanding, Project Management Institute is recommending that exact same training for the new certification exam as well.
Oh,
And
nice.
so that's great because that
Mhm.
training portion has not changed. Did you do any practice exams in addition to that training, or was the training enough to prepare you?
So there's actually a practice exam included at the end of the training. So once you finish all the modules, once you get through it, there's a practice exam that you have to get an 80% on to complete the course. And I did it twice. The first time I got like a 77, and then the second time I was able to get that above an 80. So that's only two practice exams I did, and that was all I really needed.
Nice. Can you take it unlimited number of
Yeah,
times?
you can take an unlimited amount of time. So if you're struggling, you can just keep taking it, keep learning the questions, the style of questions, and then you'll definitely get the hang of it after a few times. But the way the course is laid out, it's they have someone read all the modules to you, so you're taking in it like auditory, and then also visually you're being taught the material. So it's really, really good in my opinion.
Awesome. Did the practice exams, did it take several hours to complete? I know that the actual exam takes
Mhm.
quite a while. Did it take as long for you to go all the way through and then get your score?
Yeah, it actually did. It was pretty much exactly like the exam. It was a 3 hour block to do the practice exam for 100 questions, I think. But yeah, it definitely took me a lot of the time the first time through, but then the second time through, I started getting a lot faster and recognizing the style of questions and like the type of answer that I was looking for. And so I was able to cut down on time a lot to give me on the final exam that extra 30-45 minutes at the end to go back and review some of the questions I wasn't sure about.
Nice.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's giving me flashbacks from my project management professional preparations. I think I took practice exams probably 10 or 12 times before sitting for the
Mhm.
actual PMP.
Yeah,
And my PMP test was 4 hours in duration. I certified in 2011. And
yeah,
I remember having to sit down for that 4 hour block. It took a lot of just mental preparation as well. Like, okay, I have to do this. I have to get through these questions. So that's awesome. I want to come back to the proctored exam experience because I know that you tested virtually. I have heard mixed reviews on how the proctored exam is. So I can't wait to hear from you on things that you liked, anything that was surprising, anything
Mhm.
that might have not been as great. But tell me about the application process. So I think of getting CAPM certified in three parts. One, you have to get your education credits. So
Mhm.
there's a minimum number of education hours that you have to get. And
Yeah,
what you did for that was the Project Management Institute Project Management Basics Training,
yep,
and that gave you all of your education hours. After you get that, then you can apply for the actual certification
yep,
test, and you have to wait, you get approved, you make payment, and then you actually sit for the exam itself. So is that correct? Would you say those
yeah, I
kind
think
of
that's
main
correct.
buckets?
Mhm.
Okay, great. So then how is the application process? So you've gone through your training now, you're applying for the CAPM
Mhm.
certification and then to eventually test. What do you think? Was it really long and drawn out? Did it ask a ton of questions? Was it confusing?
Not at all. It was really, really easy. It was really simple. It just basically asked me for some general info and then the course that I took, which since it was through PMI, it verified instantly. And I just basically filled out the rest of the info. And they knew since I took the course through their program that I was prepared for the exam. Um, so yeah, that's really all I had to do. It took me not long at all. And then once I submitted it, I immediately got an email saying that I was accepted.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's great. That's great. I've heard for the project management professional, application that you have
Mhm.
to be very, very specific. And I know that when I was applying a very long time ago, they said the same thing because you can get audited. So
Yeah.
the difference between the CAPM application and the project management professional, the PMP application,
Mhm.
I think the main piece is they really want to verify your years of experience
Yeah,
as a
definitely.
project manager or managing projects. And so that's what they often go back and could audit if it's not really adding up to the minimum years of experience. So
Yeah.
thank you. I'm happy to hear
Mhm.
that it was pretty smooth for you with the application. Tell me now, you got approved, you scheduled a proctored exam. They send you instructions how to do that after your application is accepted. Tell me about the proctored exam experience, not about the exam itself yet.
Mhm.
The proctored exam. How'd you find it? What happened? Like from the time that you got on your computer, walk us through it.
So first, you have to download their software and you run tests on your computer, make sure it's going to run come test day. And I actually found out I had to use a different laptop the first time I tested it because it just wouldn't launch. It kept saying I had things open that it wasn't allowing, but I didn't have anything open. So you got to make sure you have a computer that doesn't have any programs running at all, or else it won't let you launch the program. But once you're in, um, on exam day, they're going to have someone join and they're going to make you take pictures of your entire setup that you're sitting at and make sure you get everything from every angle. And then someone actually will come online with you and actually make you turn your computer camera around, show the entire space while you're sitting there. And if you have like anything plugged into like outlets or stuff, they might make you unplug it. If you have any laptops like near you or any screens, they'll make you put those away. Like an extra monitor, you have to unplug that. Um, Anything else that might look like an electronic, they don't want in your testing environment. So it was a little felt over the top, but I definitely understand why. Um, but once I got into the exam, they basically just have a camera on you the entire time with, I think, AI that detects if you leave the screen, and then it gives you warnings each time you leave the screen. And I think if you get to three, then you might get kicked out of the exam. I actually got two warnings, once for grabbing a water bottle that was next to me, and the other time for itching my leg. So you have to be very, very careful to make sure you stay in the screen. Don't do anything besides take the test. And you, yeah, so it felt like a real testing environment where they just have eyes on you at all time. Um, but it was nice to be able to not have to drive anywhere and I could just do it like in my apartment.
So if you're going to be testing, are there any rules about people like walking around behind you or
Oh yeah.
anything? Oh, yeah, you have
Yeah,
to be in
you
like a
can't
private
have
space.
anyone walk behind your camera. Your space has to be completely like private, or else they'll cancel it, I'm pretty sure. There's a bunch of rules they have online that tell you exactly the do's and don'ts. No background noise, or at least not that much. And basically just staying in the camera was the big one. Don't try to look away at anything. Just keep your eyes on the screen, take the exam, and then you finish and it will basically just say, thanks for taking the exam, and the whole thing shuts down. And then you just wait for the email with your score.
So did you have to keep eyes on the screen when you were drinking your water?
Yeah, I started doing
Yeah.
that when I after the first time when I like looked over to grab it. The next time I just was not looking over. I was just keeping my eyes clean.
Pouring it on yourself, like
Yeah, I was
not
like,
able to look.
can't get kicked out of the exam now.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, you're a couple minutes from being finished and you look away, it's third warning. It can just shut down and
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they might just kick you out and say you have to take it again.
wow.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
So I'll ask you about how you felt the exam was as far as the content momentarily.
Hmm.
When I took the PMP exam,
Hmm.
we got our score up on the screen immediately. So you
Yeah.
click submit. I was in a physical testing location. And so it asked me several questions about the
Yeah.
location. Was it quiet? Did it meet my needs? You submit that. And then I got my score. So you did
Hmm.
not get your score right away.
No, it took a couple hours, but then I got an email from the actually the testing software that I used. They sent me an email before PMI did, so I was able to view my score through that. And then PMI sent me an email, I think the next day, honestly. So you're able to see it a couple hours after you complete the exam, but it's not going to be right after. But it gives you a link in an email and it'll show you all the sections that you scored in and if you passed or not, target, below target, above target in each of the sections. And then they accumulate them. And if you pass, then you pass.
Awesome. Awesome. And I know that when you got your scores, you did very, very well. Tell us, how did you find the exam as far as was it challenging? Was it easy? Would you have
Mhm.
done something different to prepare?
Mhm. I actually thought, like, when I was taking it, I was flagging a lot of the questions that come back. I felt like the questions were a lot more difficult than maybe the practice exam was, but that's just because I don't know. I feel like it was mainly the pressure from the environment that had me second guessing. Because once I came back to the questions after I flagged them, I read through them again, and I thought I was like, oh no, that's the right answer. Like I go through and a lot of the questions they were all the same style, and there was a decent amount of memorization um, from some of the stuff that you learn throughout the course, but it gets pretty like nailed in your head from the PMI course, just because one of the modules they're making you do the memorization like every time. So it's pretty good. But in terms of some of the questions, I just thought I was getting them wrong, but it turned out that I wasn't. Like I felt like there was two answers that could have been the right one for a lot of them. Um, and they were pretty close in like definition, but then I just go with my best guess, and I guess that was good enough to get a good score in the end.
Nice. And so you could go back, let's say you're about to finish your final question. Can you go
Mhm.
all the way back to question one, or is it
Yeah,
by section? You can go all the way back.
yeah. So it was, I think it was 100 questions. Maybe it was more than that. Yeah, maybe it was more than that, but yeah, you can go back to any of the questions. I just flagged them. And then when you go to the review screen, it'll show you all the ones you flagged, all the ones you left incomplete. There's a lot of tools you can use in the program as well. You can like highlight stuff, cross stuff out. You can create a notepad, which I use for some general note taking, just jotting down thoughts. There's a built-in calculator, but I actually didn't have any. Actually, I think I had one or two math questions where I needed to know a couple of the formulas, but there really wasn't that much emphasis on that part. It was just the general knowledge, I feel like.
Nice, nice. And I think the exam's 150
Oh,
questions.
okay. Yeah, a lot more than 100.
Yes, 150. So that's a
Hmm.
lot. And
Yeah, that makes sense. Hmm.
I believe the proctored exam has a 10-minute break. Did it have a break somewhere in there for you?
There was no break. It was just 3 hours of sitting. It was definitely um, a long exam with no break, and definitely made it worse that you just can't look or like stretch or do anything. You just gotta take it. So I
Power
don't know if
through it.
I honestly I don't know if I took it again, if I'd rather do it in person or virtually. It was yeah, it was pretty stressful.
Well, it's important to think about timing then as well. Like if
Hmm.
you are a morning person, you get up in the morning and you drink a pot of coffee and then you try to sit for 3 hours straight.
Yeah,
So
literally.
you should absolutely think about then when is a good time if you're going to take it
Yeah.
virtually and proctored. And so July 24th, it was the final day to take the old exam, which was primarily focused on the project management body of knowledge guide. And
Hmm.
now the new CAPM exam I know is expanding into a lot more reference material, very
Hmm.
similar to the PMP exam. It's not solely based on PMBOK. So what
Yeah.
we'll do is we'll share some of that information in the comments as well for people that are looking to see what does this new exam look like. We'll share a link to Project Management Institute website, and it will give you the full rundown of what's changing and how you can best prepare. You know,
Hmm.
my final question for you, Luke, is how are you going to apply what you learned? I'm so excited that you got certified. I knew from the day I first met you that you would be very, very good at project management type work because you're studying to be a mechanical engineer, which is
Hmm.
awesome. So, how can you apply what you've learned now, like take it to the next level?
Hmm. So I think project management definitely applies to everything I've done in engineering so far. We work on a lot of projects in classes throughout the year, and we're always working with a group of people. Um, we're working with teams all the time. Sometimes it's like a small 4 or 5 person project, but sometimes it'll be the entire class working on something. And being able to define a schedule, keep to a schedule, um, being able to know exactly what needs to go into a project for us to get like the best result, it's definitely going to be useful. And I'm going to be able to apply it once I graduate as well. I think no matter what career I go into, it definitely goes hand in hand with engineering, I feel like.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your experience. I'm excited for you to go and put all of that knowledge to work. So thank you, Luke.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.